Okay, welcome to a bonus Chazara Shiur. Since this Shiur, this part of the Gemara is a little bit more difficult and at the same time so much more geschmack once you get it, we're going to do a bonus Chazara Shiur just on this part. And we're going to go through Havana, we're going to go through Bifnim, and we're going to go through the worksheets because as we said in class, it's a little bit more difficult and I want you to work on the worksheets even on your own time, even extra time, since it's a little bit harder, it takes a little bit extra work. Okay, so before we start, let's make a conclusion from what we said before. In the case of Pasha Ba V'Yatzis La'agam, he was negligent, he left the door open, and went to the swamp, Umesa Kedaka, and died naturally. So technically it's a kind of Chzara Shiur, but Rava says Potter. In the name of Rabbi, he says Potter. And anyone that doesn't agree with me is not even a dayan. So everyone must agree with me. And at the same time, we have two big opinions. One man the Omer that says Chzara Shiur is chayiv, and one opinion that says Chzara Shiur is Potter. But Rabbi said everyone needs to agree with me. So one second, Rabbi says even both of these opinions will agree to me. For sure, the man the Omer that says Chzara Shiur will agree to me because Potter. Even the man the Omer that says chayiv, they'll also agree with me. Why? Because in this case, it's not a regular case of Chzara Shiur. It's not a regular oinus. What would be a regular case of oinus? If you left the gate open and it went out to the swamp and it got struck by lightning. So yes, it's an oinus, it's uncontrollable. But the fact that you left it open and it was able to go out to the swamp brought about something uncontrollable that happened by the swamp. But in this case, says Rava, everyone will agree that Potter. Why? Because there's such a concept called, when it's Mesa Kedarka is different. Mesa Kedarka is different than any other oinus. Why? Because Malach HaMavis would have killed it Mali Hacha, Mali Hasim. The Malach HaMavis would have killed it if it died naturally. It died because it was old. It was because it ended the life. So the Malach HaMavis would have killed it over here. The Malach HaMavis would have killed it over there. So in this case is different. This case is Mesa Kedarka. Mesa Kedarka has a special concept of Mali Hacha, Mali Hasim. That's what Rava said. Now, Abiy attacks Rava and asks him a kasha. 1 second. If you're right that there's such a concept of Mali Hacha, Mali Hacha, Mali Hacha, Mali Hasam by Mesa Kedarka, if you're right that Mesa Kedarka is special, is unique, it's not a regular oinus, it's unique, you're able to say Mali Hacha, Mali Hasam, then the Gemara should have used it earlier. Rabbi Ami should have used it earlier, as we're going to explain soon. And from the fact that he didn't, that means that Rava's not right. So before we get into that kasha, let's go through the Gemara's kasha and teretz from last sugya. Last sugya was talking about a shemar, shemasar the shemar. Right? Abiy gives his laptop to shemar number 1. Shemar number 1 gives it to shemar number 2, and it's lost. Now the Yeshiva says chayiv. What's the reason? We'll get to the reason soon. Rabbi Abba Bar Ma'amol asks Rabbi Ami a kasha on Rabbi Yechanan from our Mishnah. The Mishnah on Lamed Hayam Beis. What's the Mishnah saying? Abiy rents out his car to the Soicher, and the Soicher lends his car out to the Shoicher. And then Mesa Kedarka died naturally. What is the din? According to Tanakama, the Soicher needs to swear to the Abiy that died naturally and he is potter, and the Shoyel is chayiv to pay to the Soicher. Now, Rabbi Abba Bar Ma'amol asked. Now we're doing a Chazara from last sugya. Before we put the two sugyas together, let's just do a Chazara. So, Rabbi Abba Bar Ma'amol asked the kasha from this Mishnah on Rabbi Yechanan. If Rabbi Yechanan is right that the shemer number 1 is chayiv, shemer shemasar l'shemer is chayiv. Why? Because the Baal Abayis could say, I don't want my stuff by someone else. Then also in the Mishnah, the Baal Abayis should say to the Soicher, I don't want my stuff by someone else. So you're not potter, rather you are chayiv. Because I don't want my stuff by someone else. You give it to someone else, you're chayiv. What does the Gemara answer? What does Rabbi Ami answer? Rabbi Ami twists the Mishnah. It's called a doichek. So he pushes it to mean a certain thing. He pushes the Mishnah to mean that it's when the Baal Abayis gave the owner, or gave the Soicher permission to lend it out. And he said, L'daika, if you understand, then you could lend it out. Now, that was the kasha and that was the answer. Fragt Abiy l'Rava, Amar le Abiy l'Rava. 1 second. If you're right that everyone holds that Mesa Kedarka is unique, and that by Mesa Kedarka you could say Mali Hacham, Mali Hasam, then you know what the Rabbi Ami should have answered? Let's repeat the kasha again. The kasha was, why is Shomer number 1 chayiv? If the Balabais could say, I don't want my stuff by someone else, right? The Balabais should have also said over here, I don't want my stuff by someone else. You know what the answer should have been? I'm sorry, you can't. Instead of it being potter, it should be chayiv. You know what the answer should have been? The answer should have been, Rabbi Ami should have said, oh, I'm sorry, the Mishnah, you can't bring a kasha from the Mishnah. The Mishnah is different. Why is the Mishnah different? Because it was Mesa Kedarka. Mesa Kedarka has a din of Mali Hacham, Mali Hasam. It's different than any other case of Einus. So since this case in the Mishnah was a case of Mesa Kedarka, it died naturally. That's why the Soicher could say to the Balabais, well, it died naturally. It would have died naturally by me. It would have died naturally by the Shayil. And therefore, you're not Chayiv, rather you're Potter. That's what the Gemara's answer should have been. Again, let's repeat that answer. The kasha of the Gemara was, if Rabbi Yochanan is right that you're Chayiv because the owner could say, I don't want my stuff by someone else, then let the Balabais over here tell the Soicher, I don't want my stuff by someone else, and instead of being Potter, you're going to be Chayiv. The Gemara's answer should have been, Rabbi Ami should have said, this Mishnah is a whole different Mishnah. This Mishnah is a whole different case. It's a case of Mesa Kedarka. Mesa Kedarka, you could say Mali Hacham, Mali Hasam. And the Soicher could say, Mali Hacham, Mali Hasam. The Soicher could say to the Balabais, well, it died naturally. You don't want my stuff by someone else, but in this case, it's not a regular case of Shemer Shemasar L'Shemer. In a regular case of Shemer Shemasar L'Shemer and it was lost, then you're going to be Chayiv. But in this case, Potter because it was Mesa Kedarka. Meaning, it died naturally. And if it died naturally, it would have died naturally by him, would have died naturally by him. That should have been the Gemara's answer. And instead of the Seicha being Chayiv, the Seicha would have been Potter. Why? Because you could say, Mali Hacham, Mali Hasam. That's why he's Potter. And for the Gemara, Rava comes back to Abiy and says, one second. Rabbi Yochanan said that the Shemer Shemasar L'Shemer is Chayiv. Why? Because I don't want my stuff by someone else. Who said that reason? You! Abiy said that reason. I gave a whole different reason. My reason why Rabbi Yochanan says Chayiv is because Abiy could say, I don't trust this guy with the shvuah. I trust you with the shvuah, I don't trust him. So according to me, you can't even ask this question of why don't I want my stuff by someone else? Because I give a different reason. And according to me, actually, this Mishnah works very well. Because Shomer Shemasar L'Shemer is Chayiv. Why? Because the Balabais could say, I don't trust him with a shvuah. If he swears that was stolen, I don't trust him. But in this Mishnah, the Balabais trust the Seicher. And that's why he could make a shvuah and become potter. Very good. And then the shayil will have to pay to the Seicher. No problem. Everything works perfectly. So Rava's answer to Abiy is, again, I have a totally different reason for Rabbi Yochanan. So the whole question doesn't even start. According to you, you have a question, you have an answer. According to me, there's not even a question. Let's learn the Gemara inside. Daf Lamed Vav Amud Beis, about 3/4 down the Amud. The line without in the Gemara without Nekudas, the line starts Kaimo. I believe in the Gemara that has Nekudas, I believe the line starts Malach HaMavis. I think. Amar le Abiy. We're holding Amar le Abiy l'Rab. Abiy said to Rab, Lididcha, according to you, the Amrat that you say, Malach HaMavis, the angel of death, Mali Hacham, Mali Hasam, what difference does it make to me over here? What difference does it make to me over there? Hi, the Oisvei Rabbi Abba Bar Mamal Rabbi Ami. This, the Rabbi Abba Bar Mamal asks Rabbi Ami. B'shani lei, and he answers to him, B'shenas lei reshus, B'shenas lei b'olim reshus. When it's talking about, the Mishnah is talking about a case where the owners gave him permission. Lahashil to lend it out, V'lei malei, and he should say to him, meaning Rabbi Ami should give the answer that the soicher should tell the balabayis, Mali hacha mali hasa, malcham aves, the angel of death, mali hacha mali hasa. What difference does it make to me if it dies over here, it kills it over there? So that should have been the answer. And from the fact that Rabbi Ami does not give that answer, must be that that he doesn't assume the same way Rava assumes, and he doesn't hold that everyone holds that Mesa Kedarka is different, as Rashi will explain. Amar lei, so he said to him, Rava answered to Abiy, Lididchu, according to you, Dimasnisu, that you learned that the reason of Rabbi Yochanan for Shemer Shemasar Shemer is Chayev is because it's not my will, that my item should be by someone else's hand. Ika, there is L'oisva to ask Lahi, to ask that question. Lididi, but according to me, the Amina that I hold, Ant mehem nas b'shvua, you are believed with the shvua, the ha'eich and him. Lo mehem li b'shvua is not believed to me with the shvua. Leika lo'isva klal, you cannot ask that question at all. Rashi. Ha the oisei Rabbi Abba, this that Rabbi Abba asked, Le'el earlier, me'aseicher para, from someone who rents a cow, from our Mishnah, from someone who rents a cow, v'yish'il la'acher, and lends it to someone else. Le'ma, you should say, ein nitzoini. The Seicher should tell the Balabayas. So the question, the Gemara over there was, on the previous Omot, the question over there was that the Balabayas should tell the Seicher, I don't want my stuff by someone else. And therefore the Seicher should be Chayiv, not Martyr. V'shani lei, and he answered to him, Rabbi Ami answered, Rabbi Abba bar Mamol, V'shani lei, and he answered to him, V'shenos le'lo yavolim reshus. It's talking about a case where the owners gave permission to the renter to lend it out. My duchki. What's his doichak? Like we used that word before. Why is he pushing it? Why is he twisting the Mishnah? Lishnuye hachi, to learn it this way. Neimalei. He should say to him, the soicher should tell the balabayis, im iraba oines acher, that if any other oines would happen to it, dematzinu lemeimar, that we can find a way to say. That if it would have been in his house and not anywhere else, then the oinus wouldn't happen like any other oinus, like the case that we gave all the way in the beginning. If he left his gate open and it went out to the swamp and it got it got struck by lightning, then you could say he would be chayiv. Avolzu, but this case of the Mishnah, Mesa Kedarka, that it died naturally. Malachamaves Nami, Malachamaves, the angel of death, Nami the base Seicher, also in the house of the Seicher, Katillah would kill it. So, according to Rava, by Mesa Kedarka, there's a unique din. Unlike any other oinus. Any other oinus, you could say that, well, if it would have been in the Shomer's house, then it wouldn't get struck by lightning. But over here, since it died naturally, then it would have died naturally anyway. Right? So if we would have said that, if Rava is right to say that Mesa Kedarka is unique, then Rabbi Ami would have answered that, would have used that answer. And from the fact that he does not learn like that, from the fact that he does not answer like that, Shaminon, we understand, according to the Man Damar who holds that is chayiv, it doesn't make a difference, the oinus of Mesa Kedarka, of the Malacham Aves, from any other oinus. And if so, Rava, who says that Mesa Kedarka is unique, is incorrect. You can't say that the famous Man Omar of Tchilas of B'Shia V'Seif B'Ayinas Chayiv says that Mesa Kedarka is different. No, can't say that. Because Rabbi Ami didn't say that. Last Rashi, Lididchu, according to you, the Amrisu, that you say, Taimo, this is already the answer of Rava back to Abiy. According to you, that you say, time of the reason, the Shomer Shemasar L'Shomer Chayev, the reason that you give for Shomer Shemasar L'Shomer is Chayev, Mishum is because it's not my will. Ikol Oisva, there is to ask Lahi to that question. Umehai Denichole L'Rabbi Ami, Umay Denichole L'Rabbi Ami, what was more comfortable, what was more suitable for, as Rabbi Ami saw, what was more suitable for Rabbi Ami, Shiny Lay answered. And no, I don't hold Loyat Kafta, not the question, V'loy Shniya, and not the answer. I don't, according to me, there's not even a kasha, not the kasha, not the answer. Dilididi, because according to me, the Amri Le'el that I said earlier, Taima, the reason is Mishum Deloy Meheman Le, is because the Balawais could say, I don't trust him with a shvuah. The Deloy Meheman Le Bishvuah, I don't believe the other guy with a shvuah. Leika La'oisva Klal, you cannot ask this kasha at all. Shaharei, because Soicher Atzmoi, the Soicher himself, Nishbaloi, is swearing to the Balawais. It's not the other person. I don't trust the other person. No, it's you, and I trust you. Keditnan, like it says in the Mishnah, Yeshava HaSoicher, Shemei Sakadarko, that the Soicher should swear that it died naturally. Now let's quickly go over the worksheets. I'm going to briefly go over the worksheets, just as for you to be able to check if you got it right. We're going to go over from the beginning. We're holding on page 12. So first, reminder of certain parts of the previous sugya. You'll see why it's important here. So, what was Rabbi Yochanan's opinion in the machlekes of Shemer Shemasar L'Shomer? Chayev. What was Rabbi Yochanan's reason according to Abiy? Because I don't want my stuff by someone else's hand. What was the reason according to Rava? Because I trust you with a shvuah, I don't trust him with a shvuah. Now, Rabbi Abba, question number 4. Rabbi Abba Bar Mamal had asked a kasha to Rabbi Ami on Rabbi Yochanan's opinion from the Mishnah. From which case and din was the kasha? The case was someone who rented a cow and lent it to someone else, and then it died naturally. The din is, according to Tanakama, that the soicher needs to swear to the balabais that died naturally and he's potter, and the shoyl needs to pay the soicher. What was Rabbi Abba Bar Mamal's kasha from that Mishnah? Why is the soicher chayav? Why is the soicher potter? The balabais could tell the soicher, I don't want my stuff by someone else, and he should be chayav. How did Rabbi Ami answer that kasha? The Mishnah is talking about a case where the balabais gave permission to the soicher to lend it out. Taichi. 1. Lididcha, according to you, hi, this, the oisvei, that he asked, vishani, and he answered. V'leima, and he should say, lididchu, according to you, the masnisu, that you learned. Ika, there is lo'oisva, to ask, lididi, according to me, the amina, that I hold. And you, mehemnas, believed, the haeich, and him, leika, there isn't, klal at all. Phrases. Hi, the oisvei Rabbi Abba Bar Mamal Rabbi Ami, this that Rabbi Abba Bar Mamal asks to Rabbi Ami. Vishani lei, now 18 I'm going to break up into 2. Vishani lei, and he answers to him, Vishanasne loi ba'alim rishus la'ashil. It's talking about when the owners gave him permission to lend it out. 19, you could ask that question. You are trusted to me with a shvuah. He is not trusted to me with a shvuah. You cannot ask that at all. Next page, Rashi. And he answers them that it's talking about a case where he gave him permission. Zok Rashi. My duchke. What's the push? Why is he twisting it? L'shenuye, to answer, ira, it occurred, d'matzinu l'meimar, that we find a way to say, katil, killed, umideloy shani le'achi, and from the fact they did not answer him this way. Like this. Shaminan, we understand, loy shna, it does make a difference. In your own words, what is Rashi explaining? Why did Rabbi Ami explain the Mishnah in a far-fetched way if he could have just said that this Mishnah is a case of Mesa Kedarka, and Mesa Kedarka is a unique type of oines, because the Malach HaMavis would have killed it over here or over here. But from the fact that Rabbi Ami does not give that answer, I understand that the opinion that says does not hold that Mesa Kedarka is any different than any other oinas. Unlike Rava. That's it. Rashi de Bramaskal Didchu. This is already the answer. Umay de Rabbi Ami, and what's comfortable for Rabbi Ami, what fits well, Shani Lei answers to him. Ana lois virali, I do not hold. At Kafta, the Kasha, Shinuya, the answer, Le'el, earlier. In your own words, what is Rashi explaining? According, your reason for Rabbi Yochanan gives room for Rabbi Abba Bar Mamo's kasha. But my reason for Rabbi Yochanan, that the Baal Bayis doesn't trust the other Shomer, gives no room for a kasha. On the contrary, it works very well with the Mishnah. Because in the Mishnah, the Baal Bayis actually trusts the Soicher who makes the Shvuah. So there's no kasha. There's no kasha, there's no teretz. Next page. In your own words, answering your own words. Question 9. What was Rava's opinion in the machlekes of our Sugya? Potter. That the one who, the mechaber, the compiler of these worksheets, may have intended that we should write the case over here also. That if it was negligent, he left the gates open and went out to the swamp and it died naturally, then Rava says Potter. According to Rava's opinion, what could Rabbi Ami have answered to Rabbi Abba Bar Mamel in the previous Sugya? That this Mishnah is different, it's not a regular case of Shemesh Masal Shomer, because it was Mesa Kedarka. And the Soicher could tell the Baal Bayis it would have died anywhere, and that's why I'm Potter. Please summarize Abaya's kasha. If Rava is right, that everyone holds that Mesa Kedarka would be Potter because it would have died anywhere, then Rabbi Ami should have answered that to Rabbi Abba Bar Mamel and say that the Mishnah is not a regular case of Shemer Shemasar L'Shomer since it is Mesa Kedarka. But Rabbi Ami does not say that. Must be Rava's incorrect. Next question. According to Rava's reason, would Rabbi Abba Bar Mamel's kasha to Rabbi Ami be valid? No. Why not? Because Rava holds the reason why Shomer Shemasar L'Shomer is chayiv is because the Baal Bayis does not trust the other Shomer's oath. According to that, there's no, the Mishnah is not even a kasha. If there's no kasha, there's no place for an answer. And in fact, the Mishnah works very well with Rava's reasoning. To summarize, now the compiler of the worksheets is telling you, to summarize, Rava explains the whole kasha of Rabbi Abba Bar Mamel and the whole kasha of Abaya on Rava based on that is all according to Abaya's reason on Rabbi Yechanan's din. But according to Rava's reason of Rabbi Yechanan's din, the whole kasha of Rabbi Abba Bar Mamel would not even begin. Geschmack. as you remember, the chayas that there was in the class on Friday when we learned this answer, and we'll mention the Talmud who figured out this answer even before we taught it. Mendel Klein, you're able to see the fire that was burning on his face when he got this geschmack answer. It was amazing. Okay, Blush Gemara. Which words are Abaya's reason for the previous sugya? Six words. Ein Ritzoni Sheyeh Bigdaini Biyad Acher. Question 15. Which words are Rava's reason from the previous sugya? And Meheman Li Bishvua. The Haeich Loi Meheman Li Bishvua. That's 9 words. And that concludes this shiur. If you need to watch it again slower, chew it over. It's valid. It's a little bit of a tougher sugya, but once you get it, it's so geschmack. Share now.